I have a question about the military. We've had National Guard and reserves over in Iraq now up to 3 and sometimes I think 4 times. Why do we have in Europe a total of approximately 1,600,000 men and women? Why are those men still in Europe 62 years after World War II? I would like to know if you will bring those people out of Europe, close those bases, spend that money in the United States instead of closing bases here. Get those people and their families back in this country where we can have that much more economy in this country. If you just stop and think about 1,600,000 people, the money they spend is a tremendous amount of money. That could just as easily be spent in this country. We have nuclear submarines that can do anything that they can do regardless. A nuclear submarine in this day and age has more destructive power than World War II. So why do we need 1,600,000 people in Europe spread all the way from Turkey all the way to Iceland and Greenland?
It's not quite that large to get the number on that, because our total military, our total active duty military is 1.5 million throughout the world, including the US. The total is 1.5 million. It used to be 2 million under President Reagan. And when Clinton was president, he cut it down to 1.5 million. And so throughout the whole world, Army, Navy, Marines, Coast Guard, it's all now total up to 1.5 million. I think we need to raise it to 1.6. I want to add at least 100,000 troops to our military. There are some places in the world that we do want to have troops. We've had about 50,000 troops in South Korea, and we're going to be bringing that down to about 25,000 troops in South Korea. We have our base in Germany, for instance, where we have a pretty substantial presence, and it is also a place where we have the ability to bring in aircraft, and we have a very substantial aircraft facility there. And the reason, of course, is that if we feel the need to be able to have aircraft go to a place like Iraq or Iran or anywhere else, you need to have bases where you can stop and fuel and so forth. And so we have a very substantial base in Germany. It's also the base in Germany where all of our injured soldiers go. So that the young men and women that are injured in places like Iraq are airlifted out to Germany and are brought there and are treated there. And I will of course take a look at where our military personnel are stationed around the world and make sure that we don't have unnecessary troops in any one place. One of the challenges that we have with our National Guard and Reserve is that they have been seeing way too many rotations, and our active duty personnel as well, a lot of rotations. Why is that? Well, we don't have enough troops in the military. During the Clinton years, we took what some called a holiday from history, assuming that because we defeated the Soviet Union, there was no more evil in the world. Well, there is evil in the world. And Clinton declared a peace dividend. Well, we got the dividend, we didn't get the peace. And we're going to have to recognize that we have to strengthen our military. I'll make sure they're in the right places, and we don't have our National Guard or reserves having more frequent rotations than our active duty personnel, but it's our active duty personnel that needs additional support at this point, so we don't have to have those kind of rotations for any of our personnel.
Can I add to that?
Yeah, sure.
I'm for you as a candidate. Let me state that. But you didn't say anything to me about closing some of these military bases that we have in some of these weird places around Europe. We've got them in every country.
Well, you know,
I don't believe
I can't tell you.
Years after World War II's over, they should still be there.
Well, we have some of the bases over there because we call it, it's a forward deployment. And it costs us money, and we're paying it to our folks. We'll look at that, but the reason is, as you know, to protect our country. That's the reason we have it. And they're not in all the nations. As you know, France doesn't have any for a different reason. And we're trying to set up a missile defense in places like Poland and Czechoslovakia, and that's to protect us as well as to protect our friends from a nuclear Iran or another rogue nation. I will look base by base, but I'm not going to announce to you here that I'm going to start closing bases in Europe, because that's something to study. You want to take apart and decide where do you want to have our military station? What is the best place for us to have our personnel in order to protect ourselves and to protect the interests of America? And I will certainly carry out that evaluation. And if there's any place in the world I don't think we need to have troops or need to have military might, I'll take it out of there. But there's been a policy for some time to, as we say, forward deployment to make sure that we're out in those hot spots to try and keep them from becoming major places of conflict. Yes, sir.
Governor Romney, you mentioned